And we're live. Hey, everybody, how's it going? It's your man James, back again for another one of our little discussion live streams here, Sequential Thinking. Hope this all finds you doing well, especially with certain current events going on around the nation. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Except we need a little bit of a haircut, but can't get out to see that and get it done because I have a Democrat governor who is enjoying being a fascist and keeping everybody locked down and not letting places open and things like that. So which kind of is interesting because it kind of dovetails into what we're going to be talking about today a little bit. How the cultural influencers, the show media, these people who are always the loudest voices are starting to lose a little bit of their grip on the culture and on fandoms and the control that they've had, pretty much for decades, really, when you think about it. It's all about controlling the masses. It's all about telling people what to do, what to think, how to feel. And, these guys, they're starting to lose a little bit of that. And that's what today's is about. It's a little thing. I'm sure you all heard about it about a week ago or so, the release of the Snyder Cut for the Justice League movie, that fans have been demanding for quite a while. And Warner and I guess their big parent company AT&T relented and said, all right, we're going to give you the Snyder Cut. And the shill media and those cultural influencers, those people lost their collective shit. They acted as though it was the end of the world, which, again, considering what's going on in the nation right now, that looks more like the underworld, but they acted like this was. That's how deeply ingrained their sense of control is, that they think that fans getting something that they want, that they've been clamoring for. I mean, literally, we've seen it on comic covers and on movie posters, because you demanded it. Well, this was actually one that they demanded. And because they relented to them, these cultural influencers, the shill media, they lost their minds because they know what it means. It means they are no longer in control. They are no longer the ones calling the shots. They're no longer with the ones with their finger on the scales, deciding who will get what, when, and why. And it's just an interesting thing for me to see, given what I've seen take place in the comic book industry over the last several years. We just had the big collapse. A couple months ago, after 2 weeks, the entire direct market just collapsed in on itself. You got shops that are closed now and will never reopen again. They're scrambling to get product to stores that are still there. They're scrambling to get in places like Walmart and Target. They're scrambling for, pushing digital. It's all a big scramble because, they didn't listen to the fans. They didn't listen to the consumers, the people who buy the product, and they've paid the price for that. And here we are now. It's a similar situation. The consumers were demanding the Snyder Cut for quite a while. And now that they're getting it, the people who think that they should be in control, that we're the power, we decide what you get, they don't like that. Just like, again, like to go back to what I said at the beginning, my haircut, I'm sure my governor is getting his haircut. He doesn't have that problem, but I don't. Why? Because, well, he's the power. I'll decide when you can get a haircut and when you can't. No. That's not how it works. That's not the way life is. And, this is just another sort of microcosm of that, of people who have had too much access, too much, say in certain things, and they've come to believe that now they are the power and that everyone must relent to them. You must come and kiss their ring. You must come and, do what they say. They are the ones in control, not you, not the consumer, not the people who keep the lights on, not the people who, fill those paychecks they run in cash. No. They're not the power. We're the power. Screw those people. They need to get in line and learn their place like the plebs they are. And it's like, no, that's not how it goes. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today with these articles I found and some other stuff. And you're going to see how it really all interconnects with everything we've talked about so far, as far as the comic industry goes. And you can see that this is not an isolated case for the comic industry. It's not an isolated case for even a particular company like DC Comics. It's widespread. This is all over the place, and it's been interesting to watch these people lose their minds when things don't go their way, and I hope to see more of that, because these cultural influencers need to learn that while they may have a say in what they want people to do, they don't have the control that they think that they do. And let's see here. So I'm gonna share the screen here with one of these. Let's see, where it's that. Here it is. We're going to start off here with a piece from Collider. This is a publication that's for a lot more for like gaming and things of that nature, but they've branched out and they're doing other things. And here they are talking about the Snyder Cut. Why releasing the Justice League Snyder Cut sets a dangerous precedent, by Soy Boy Extreme here, Drew Taylor. And we're just gonna go through this right here. Well, it happened. Zack Snyder's cut of his failed superhero team-up movie Justice League will see release on Warner Media's direct-to-consumer streaming platform HBO Max sometime in 2021. Members of the movement who have been hectoring Warner Brothers to release this version of the movie see it as a giant win. Everyone else should be worried about what this means for the rest of cinema. You see, look, already the projection, because consumers got something they wanted, something they were, again, because they demanded it. And these influencers, like your soy boy Drew Taylor here, were the ones who thought, no, we get to make those decisions. And because they were cut around and cut out and told, we don't care what you think, we're going to make this and give it to these people who have been saying they want to give us their money. Now this is somehow dangerous. This is somehow, we need to be worried for cinema. Never mind that, cinema has always been about giving the consumers what they want. That's why movies succeed. That's why movies fail. It's ridiculous, that they have to go there. But then this is what they do. See, this is the whole point of what they do. And then he goes into, the whole thing about how the Snyder Cut began and what happened. And for those who don't know, the story is, Zack Snyder is the director of the Justice League movie, and while he was filming, his daughter committed suicide, which, all hearts out to him. I mean, I can't imagine anything harder for anybody than losing a child, So, I mean, and in a way like that, that's just horrible and awful. But so he had to leave and stop working on the production to deal with all the fallout from that. And they brought in, Cuck Extreme, Joss Whedon to finish it out. And, so he did things, of course, very differently than what Snyder probably would have done. And so when the movie came out, it bombed. But then people were talking about the Snyder Cut. The whole way Snyder had envisioned the film. Because with someone else coming in and taking over, they were doing things that he wasn't going to do, or taking it in places he never would have thought to take it, and maybe some things in the film didn't make sense, some things didn't turn out the way it should have. Now we get to see what Snyder's completed vision was going to be, and that's what people want to see, and so here we go with the next part here. Fans imagined that the rough cut of Justice League that Snyder submitted to the studio was better than the one that was released in theaters in November of 2017. They shared the hashtag on Twitter, bought billboards in California and New York, flew planes with a giant sign that read, "Release the Snyder Cut," trailing behind it. They even got corporations like Subway to contribute to the cause. Worst of all, they cloaked their activities, which grew into something of a public nuisance, under the shadow of charity. They regularly contributed to suicide prevention foundations, which on the outset seems noble, but really was a way of concealing what they were actually doing, bullying everyone. You see right here, this right here, this one paragraph is so laden with this person's sense of entitlement, their privilege, their their disdain for the very people that they're supposed to be working for. You remember, these are people who, like, are supposed to give you the information, to give you the stuff that you want to know about, so that you can decide, do I want to see this movie? Do I not? Do I want to go get this product or not? That's what these people are here for. And here this guy is showing utter disdain for the very people that keep him employed, calling them bullies for demanding something that they all wanted, that could be made and could be given to them by the company. And any business knows when you have customers who want something, you do all you can to fulfill it if you think there's a way you can make a profit. And because they gave in, and see, he took all the things they did. I mean, these people went so far out, billboards and planes with signs and, all this stuff. But then to denigrate the giving of charity as merely a tactic of bullying. I mean, like I said, as I told you, Snyder's daughter committed suicide. And so to show both concern towards him, and to maybe, of course, to ingratiate themselves a bit, to say, hey, look, we understand, that this is why your vision was interrupted. This is what happened. We're going to do these positive things to show you we care about you, show you care about us, and give us the full Snyder cut. That's what we want. That's what they did. That's not bullying. I mean, this is how good things happen in the world. Somebody wants something, so then they go and do something good to help maybe someone else to get that something. That's a positive benefit to all sides. I mean, the company's going to make money from the Snyder Cut. Snyder gets to see his complete vision out there. And because of the people who demanded it wanting to show some grace and gratitude towards Snyder himself, they've donated to charities that will help prevent others from suffering what he had to suffer. This is all good all around, except in the mind of an ideologue who thinks that they are the ones who should be able to decide what people get and what people don't. And they frame it in the way that they think will make everyone see this as a negative, when actually it's all of this. Everything they listed was all positive. There was no shadowiness to it. There was no, cloaked activities. This was all above board, and this was all good stuff. Continuing on. They bullied those who suggested that maybe the Snyder version, which would require tens of millions of dollars to finish the audio and visual effects, might actually be the worst version. Guess what, Drew? No one cares, okay? They don't care whether it will be the worst version or not. These people want to see Snyder's uninterrupted, unaltered vision. Now, you're right, it might be worse than what was put out there on the screen, or it might be better, or it might be just as bad, or it might be no different at all. Who knows? But that's not the point. So your whole thing of saying, that they bullied people, that they bullied people who told them this might be worse, they don't care. They want to see it. And that's all that matters. They bullied those that thought the theatrical release version was good. No, what happened is people who saw the algorithm said, this is what you get, shut up, and then they got told off. That's not bullying, Drew. That's called getting what you give. See, you're doing it right now. You're attacking these people. So I'm sure when you get blowback from this, you're going to say, I'm being bullied, but except you're not being bullied. You're a loudmouth who stuck your nose in, who's telling other people what to think and what to believe and denigrating others. And then when they come at you, all of a sudden you're the one being picked on? I don't think so. Once again, this is the entitlement of his type. But most of all, they bullied Warner Brothers, who clearly went in a completely different direction from what Snyder was planning. No, they informed Warner Brothers that we want this and we're willing to pay for it. Okay, it's not just saying we want you to give it to us for free. They're not saying put the Snyder Cut out there and give it to everybody who went and saw the movie in the theaters. No. They're willing to pay for it. No, believe me, the company does not feel bullied. The company weighed everything very carefully and said, is there money to be made here? And that's what they based their decision on. That is where it came from. It wasn't because, they were bullied and they didn't have a choice. No, they always had a choice. They could have said no. And for a while, they've been saying no, but they've weighed all the options and have decided, wow, this sustained campaign, all this passion, all this energy, all this buzz, And on top of that, there's all these people who are saying they want it, they want it, they want it, and they're willing to pay for it. Yeah, let's do this. That's what any sane, rational business would do when they see demand like this. A demand, as he notes here, as Snyder eventually began stoking the movement, so too did several of the film's stars, including Ben Affleck, Jason Momoa, Henry Cavill, and Gal Gadot. There it is. Even the people who made the film, who were stars in the film, were saying, let's have it. That's not bullying. They don't seem like they're being bullied. But that's how guys like this will do this. The fact that Warner Brothers has not only acknowledged this incredibly obnoxious fan uproar, but also agreed to it per their demands, #release the Snyder Cut, is mystifying and potentially dangerous. The message is clear. If you bitch and moan enough, chances are that the studio might not only hear you, but agree with you. The fan uproar, which was at the very least very annoying and at the very worst actively threatening, has been vindicated. Their methods have been approved. Everything that they did had a purpose because Warner Brothers has finally given them what they want. And see, here it is, this right here, this paragraph, this is the crux of it. He does not believe that consumers should have a voice. He does not believe that those who pay for these things, who are willing to pay for these things, should have what they want. He thinks that only the elite, of which I'm sure he considers himself, should have that choice. And us peons, us plebs, us proles, we just need to shut up, know our place, and accept whatever gruel and slop they throw before us. And the fact that that didn't happen here, he's talking about it's very potentially dangerous. The only danger is to people like Drew Taylor who think that they are above everybody else. I'm part of the elite. I'm one of the influencers. I'm one of the people who gets to decide this stuff. I'm the one that does that. You all just sit down and shut up. That's his mentality. That is the mentality of him and every other guy and gal and every other person in this who does this. And then we're just going to cut through this a little bit because it's just more of his whining. He goes, for as long as the movement has raged, Warner Brothers has done the right thing and simply ignored them. See, there it is, right there, folks. See, the elites. The elites should ignore the proles. The elites should ignore the peons. The elites should ignore the peasants. Let them eat cake. The internet already gave them a voice when they shouldn't have had one. Yesterday, the studio gave them something they never expected but always craved, legitimacy. And now we're screwed. Fans displeased by perceived slights will now be insufferable. Not only will they demand alternate versions of movies more often, but their rhetoric will infect the release of this and any other DC property. If Warner Brothers thought that this would quiet them down, it won't. If anything, it will amplify their voices. The entitlement is already unbearable. Yes, Drew, the entitlement is unbearable. Your entitlement, asshole. You and every cultural influencer and shill like you. I'm sorry you sucked so much dick to try to get to where you are, taking it in the ass and whatever else you had to do to get the access that you have. But guess what? That's not the way the world works anymore, son. Now the people, we the people, the plebs, we have a voice. And no, it's not we don't deserve, we do deserve that voice. That is our voice. And like all elites, you want to take it from us because you think you're better than us, and you're not. No, son, the entitlement is completely on your side. You are the one who is unbearable. You are the one who is insufferable. You are the one who has been craving legitimacy by getting to where you are, thinking this is how it is, but it isn't. Legitimacy is not done simply because you shill for somebody the right way. Legitimacy is gotten through hard work, through convictions, through keeping on in the perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds, that's what gives you legitimacy. Not, oh, well, I've greased all the right palms and I sucked all the right dicks, and so I should be able to get all the access, and people should have to listen to me, and they can just shut up and listen to what I have to say. That's not the way it works, son. Not anymore. Not now, and it's never going to work that way again. See, that's the real story here. Not what the people want, but what these entitled asshole shills want. You know, they're the ones in fear. You know, the corporations, they're not in fear. They're like, hey, you want to give us your money for something? Tell us what you want. We'll take your money. That's what they do. You know, the actors, they don't care. Hey, if people want to see me in a movie, shoot, let them do it. That just raises my profile more. The only people who are worried are the cultural influencers like Drew here, who see the writing on the wall that their days of you know, unfettered access and control are coming to an end, and it scares the living hell out of them, because this is what they truly craved. They never got into this because, well, I want to, you know, inform the public, or I want to, you know, support good products over bad. It was always about control and, you know, being seen as better than. That's what these guys are all about. That's what they're always about. You know, so that's how that is with people like him. But you know, he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only person to have their say on it in this way. So, you know, we're gonna share the screen again here, and going to put another one up this time, you know, where they go, whereas he was just complaining in the face of, you know, the elitists in the shill media. This next one here, right here, from Vanity Fair, damned ads, goes even further for me. Is releasing the Snyder Cut of Justice League a victory for toxic fandoms? HBO Max is using the promise of Zack Snyder's vision to build buzz. There may be a hidden cost, by Joanna Robinson. See, now here again, a toxic fandom. See, this is what they do. You know, you saw Entitled, you saw Insufferable. Now it's toxic. You know, we don't. You know, I'm not going to have to go through this one as much because we covered a lot of the backstory of this in Drew's piece. But let's see. But there was one point in this one that really, I think, spun home to me. Here we are, right here. The Snyder Cut, if you've been fortunate enough to dodge this particular geek controversy, is the name fans gave a cut of the Justice League they believed existed. When Snyder left his work on Justice League in May of 2017, in the wake of his daughter's death, Warner Brothers handed the film to Marvel alum Joss Whedon to complete. The resulting film, an unwild Snyder Whedon hybrid, satisfied neither critics nor followers, and some diehard fans became convinced that if Snyder had been able to complete the film on his own terms, they would have gotten a much more satisfactory team-up movie with some of DC Comics' most famous superheroes. The hashtag Release the Snyder Cut was born. Plenty of earnest pleas came with it, but also vitriol that was extreme even for Twitter, including harassment campaigns targeted at critics, HBO Max, Warner Brothers, and its employees. Former DC film chief Jeff Johns left the platform entirely after receiving endless Twitter attacks, and director James Gunn, who was hired to write and direct the Suicide Squad sequel for the studio, discovered that his new gig came with at least one death threat from a user with a Batman avatar. See, there it is. This is part of the problem. These people view Twitter as the real world, and it isn't. This cuts right to the heart of their bull. They think that what they see on Twitter is somehow relevant to the rest of us. Tell me, let me ask all of you who are watching this right now, and you don't have to answer me direct, but just answer to yourself. Do you give two shits what anybody on Twitter says about anything? Does it affect your life? Are you sitting around, dazed and confused and bewildered, by what somebody said on Twitter? Does it really even matter in your day-to-day life? Does it even affect you in any way that matters in any kind of human way? Or is it just, yeah, just like all assholes, they got opinions and then most of them are full of shit? Yeah, that's what I thought too. But to these people, and I'm sure good old Joanna here, I'm sure she's a blue check mark on Twitter because that's how they get their clout. Got to get that blue check mark. They believe that Twitter is a reflection of reality, or if not a reflection of it, the reality itself, and it's not. Someone making a death threat with a Batman, and you notice there was no receipts given here. She says this stuff happened, but she doesn't really give the receipts of it. Oh, he got a death threat. Well, where is it? Oh, I don't. Oh. How do you know he got it? How do we even know it's real? See, that's another thing to do. They just blast the fandom. They blast the consumers as toxic, and then go ahead and don't prove it. It's just you just have to take it as a given. You just got to believe me. Are there assholes online? Yeah, absolutely. Joanne and Drew are a couple of them, for example. But do I think that means everybody in a fandom or everybody in a consumer group or movement is an asshole? No, not even close. And it's funny, but to me, what this says is that they want to judge those they disagree with by the worst actors that they can find. Anybody, here's a guy. How do you know that he had a Batman avatar because he was a fan of the Snyder Cut? How do you know? How do you know it isn't a sock puppet account? Somebody who created it to make the Zack Snyder, cut fans look bad. That's possible, isn't it? People have done that stuff before. To make a group look bad. Let me go on there and fake being one. Hell, maybe the person that did it didn't even really care about the movie. They put the avatar up there and said all this because they just don't like James Gunn. Maybe that's what it is. Could it be that? Oh, maybe. Oh, well, so it's got nothing to do with Zack Snyder Cut. It's got nothing to do with the people who want the Zack Snyder Cut. It's just some jerk online with an avatar that he put in to make people look bad, or because he wanted to be edgy or whatever. But see, none of that matters to a person like Joanna here, because see, for them, it's all about retaining that control and retaining that access and retaining that status above other people. We're better than you, plebs. We are smarter. We're better. We're more connected. You just need to shut up and know your place. That's their mentality. That is how these people think. And that is why they see things like Twitter as, the real deal, as real life. They just, and again, once again, she also joins in with Drew here. Fan movements with some sort of social messaging behind them, be it improving Hollywood's diversity or actually charitable campaigns, are the most powerful of all. And here, the Zack Snyder Cut crowd found some protection, combining their efforts to resurrect a superhero film with some very real and unimpeachable good in raising money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The fundraising aspect helped reinforce a narrative that, if not for his family's tragedy, Snyder would have delivered Justice League free from studio intervention. The altruistic aspect of the Release the Snyder Cut movement even inspired celebrities who might otherwise have stayed out of it to add their voices. Several members of the Justice League cast tweeted out the hashtag as part of a fundraiser back in November. See, once again, denigrating charity. That's how far these types will go. Denigrate charity if it coincides with something they don't like. I don't want there to be a Zack Snyder Cut. I don't want those people who want the Zack Snyder Cut to get the Zack Snyder Cut. Therefore, anything they do is suspect. Anything they do is evil. Oh, they gave to a charity? Oh, well, it must be some shadowy, thing that they're doing. They're using it as cover for their bullying tactics. This is the mentality. This is the mentality of these people. I just, And here, this last bit I'm going to give you, this was where I think a lot of the rage that you're seeing from these shills is coming from. Despite the good they have done, raising money for a worthy cause, it's hard to ignore the toxic side of this fandom, which has targeted and harassed critics who have dared even tweet criticisms about Snyder's work. I have been told to kill myself on countless occasions by Twitter accounts with either Superman or Batman logos. When fandom becomes identity, every negative review seems like a personal attack. In not only giving over to these fans, but using their language, hashtag release the Snyder Cut, in its official announcement, HBO Max has given legitimacy to all actions of this fandom. Not very heroic of them. You see, there it is. She evidently is one of these that went out there and told people to shut up about the Snyder Cut. You're not going to get it. You know, Schneider's not that great. You know, all these things that they've said to antagonize these people. And then when they got blowback, all of a sudden, oh, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. The only thing they're a victim of is their own sense of entitlement, their own sense of elitism, and their own sense of hubris in being so stupid. And again, once again, notice, she says that she got these death threats or being told to kill herself, but where are the receipts? Any links? Any pull quotes here? Any pictures of the actual tweets showing this? Oh, no, we can't give you receipts because then you could know whether we're telling the truth or not. We don't want you to know what the truth is. Again, it's listen and believe. That's what it is with these types. Listen and believe. They don't care about what the truth is. They don't care about how reality is. You know, they want you to believe what you're told by them. It's all about control. And that's where these guys are going so wrong. They see this thing with the Zack Snyder Cut as the first chink in the armor of we're losing control. We're not the authority anymore. We're not the ones with all the access anymore. We're not the ones who are above the plebs anymore. And they're the one. That's why they're the ones saying it's dangerous, because it's dangerous to their belief that they are better than other people, that they are superior, that they are, the ones deserving of that access, deserving of that consideration. Their belief is what's being endangered by this, not people, not the companies, not the corporations, not the actors. Nobody is in danger except for elitist shills who have grown too big for their britches and are now seeing the first signs that their reign is about to start ending, and it's scaring them to death. And that's when you get stuff like this. This is what they do. This is how these people are. But again, as I've shown you with the past, these past discussions we've had with comics, it's not exactly, just these media people for movies that are this way. It cuts across all borders within the media realm. Comics themselves are this way. The people who make the comics this way, are this way themselves. And again, we're gonna have a little something here to prove all that. A little something that probably one of the most infamous video clips that spotlights the mentality I've been talking about in all of these discussions we've had, in this one and in all the previous ones. The mentality that is at the heart of it all. This is what it is right here. This clip, one of the most infamous of all time. Just a quick side. This here, folks, is Kelly Sue DeConnick, one of the biggest SJW feminist bitches you could ever have the misfortune to ever be around. She is exactly, to me, she is one of the keys of what is wrong in the entertainment, if not just comics, but all of the entertainment industry. Her mentalities, the way she thinks, the way she acts, the way she treats consumers, all of it. She is exactly what is wrong with the entertainment industry in general. And you're going to see that in this video clip here. I'm going to play this clip, and I'll take breaks in between to make some commentary, but you're going to see right here.
And if you don't like my politics, then don't buy my book.
Right there. Boom. Look at that. We're not even 5 seconds in. We're not even 5 seconds in, and already, she hits you right with that. If you don't like my politics, don't buy my work, which is odd because 9 times out of 10, her type, when they're talking this, it's not really their work. I mean, they may have wrote the story or drew the art, but the character, the IP, the icon that they're doing, it isn't theirs. It belongs to one of the corporations now, which was formerly belonging to the publisher, which is now owned by that corporation. That is whose work that is. That's whose book that is. Spider-Man isn't yours, bitch. Captain Marvel isn't yours, bitch. Aquaman isn't yours, bitch. Those belong to those companies. That's their work. So what she really says there is, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my employer's products. Ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous.
Kelly C. DeConnick introduced us to a totally different version of Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel and made the Carol Core happen. She's also the genius writer behind Bitch Planet. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
The superhero comics, at their core, they're built on the foundation of, the strong, big, strong heroes go in and help the little guys, the people who are oppressed. Essentially what feminism is about.
Yes, exactly. Right? This is always when people are like, would you please get your politics out of my comic books? I'm like, what comic books are you reading? Where is the apolitical comic book that you're reading? Like, I want to go back to the comic books we were reading in my youth. The 70s, when they were incredibly political and not even...
Incredibly political, but not insulting to the readers. This right here is the chestnut they use. Oh, comics have always been political, except they haven't always been political. Not like this. There may have been morals in there. Don't rob, don't steal, don't, harm others, don't murder people. Maybe a little bit like, hey, don't do things that can harm society at large. Yeah, there are little morals that can be put in there. They've always been there all the time. That's true. So if you mean politics in the broad sense of morality and people, doing moral tales and things like that, yeah, that's always been the case. But has it been so divisively political? Has it been where you would take what was once a well-reasoned, viewpoint, like say, I don't know, immigration, and you say, I'm all for, we need to prevent people from just coming into our country willy-nilly against our laws because we need to know who these people are and what their intentions in coming here is. And we can't do that if they come in here illegally, and if they're hiding, and if they're taking up jobs that, that they could go to Americans. It hurts, people, and it hurts the citizens of America, especially, again, some of the, minority classes who are usually the ones that are hurt most by such things, and we shouldn't do that. So we need a strong border that's protected so that we can, have people come in the right way and not just think they can come in like a revolving door. No open borders with, checkpoints for people to come in the right way. That's a completely legitimate, moderate argument to make. There is nothing in there that is intentionally, racist or xenophobic or anything else that they would call you for that. But yet, today, that type of mentality, let's put that in the mouth of a character like, the Red Skull, for example. Have him say it. And what's the reason for that? Well, to say anybody who would espouse this stuff, well, they're obviously a Nazi, of course. Only a Nazi believes in strong borders. Only a Nazi believes in citizens first in a country. Only a Nazi believes that stuff. We didn't have that before. We didn't have it where you would denigrate entire swaths of people, that way. Politically in comics. They didn't do that then. The only thing is if you were a member of the Klan who says, and they would say the things you expect the Klan to say, I hate black people. Well, yeah, okay, that's political, but guess what? You can find Klan rallies, footage of Klan rallies where that's what they do. But you don't see a lot of guys who are Nazis like the Red Skull trying to say, hey, we just need to protect our borders and have an actual immigration system that lets us know who's coming in and who's going out and things like that, so that we don't let in people who could be harmful to the country. You don't have that. There is no Nazis espousing that. But what these people do is they take something that is moderate, something that is reasonable, and they make it seem not so by how they project it, from who's projecting it and in what way they're projecting it. And so, yeah, comics have always been political in pushing little moral stories, but they have never attacked entire swaths of their reader base. And that's very new.
Or you go back to the Ditko Spider-Man issues, which was Peter Parker was getting bullied and traumatized at school.
Yes, I'm sorry to break this to you, but Captain America is a social justice warrior. I know.
No, he isn't. Captain America would never stand for having someone canceled because they voted in a way he didn't like. He would never stand for people being told that they're a bigot because they don't want their country to be borderless. He would never go and say, oh, I need to punch that guy in the face because he espoused a view I didn't like. He would never do those things. That's what social justice warriors do. Cap doesn't do that. Captain America stands for, freedom and liberty. He would allow people to say whatever they wanted. And it isn't until they cross the line from word to deed that Captain America gets involved. Again, using the Klan reference. Yeah, they can, if they pay their permits and they get their rally going and they're peaceful about it, Cap ain't going to go in there and beat their asses. He totally disagrees with everything they're going to say. But as long as they're peaceful about it, it's their right. Their right to free speech in this nation, which Captain America defends. He's not going to attack them for that. Now, if they go in and say that stuff, and then they go and start to go to a black community in the city and try to kill people, well, now Cap will step in and kick their asses. Because why? Now it's not just about words. Now it's deeds. Captain America fights against evil actions. Not evil thoughts, not evil words, evil actions. And that's the difference. And if he beats you in a fight and you go to jail, well, it's on you. But even then, after it's done, he's finished. He doesn't say, well, now I'm going to follow you around for the rest of your life and make sure you're unemployable, to make sure that you can never get a job, to make sure you can never own a house, to make sure you can never have a moment's peace. He doesn't do that. But social justice warriors do. They love to push people into the unemployment line and make them unemployable, to destroy their livelihoods, to destroy their very lives. I'll tell you this personally. This is just my personal view. I think a lot of these social justice warriors want to kill people, but they know that would make them look bad. So instead, they want to do things that will push people to suicide. That's what they do. We don't like you. We don't like what you say. You hurt our feelings. So now we're going to destroy your life so that you will commit suicide and we can be rid of you. And then that way we cannot be blamed for murder. That's what these people are like. That's the social justice warrior. She's going to try to conflate this as like superheroes or social justice, but they're not. Not the social justice warriors that I just explained to you.
Oh, you mean that as an insult? But there's just no, that is the definition of what he is, And if all you want to read are, books about, I literally can't even think of what would be.
You're right. If Cap.
Yeah, you can't even think because it's all a bunch of bullshit. She can't think of anything because to her, everything is politics. Everything. Even the personal. Even the professional. Even, sports is political. Comics are political. Movies are political. Your love interests are political. Everything is political. So I can't think of anything that would be, except, we had tons of comics. Anybody remember romance comics? Those weren't political. I mean, by and large, maybe once in a while someone might try something, and these were done in like the 50s and the 60s, when we had segregation. So maybe there was a story about a forbidden love between someone white and someone black. But short of a few things like that, romance comics, they're not political. It's all intersocial. It's all about, you know, finding love or losing love or unrequited love or love lost. You know, that's what it was all about. Had nothing to do with politics. You know, how about some of the cartoon stuff like Woody Woodpecker and Heckle and Jekyll? They're not political. That's not political stuff. You know, and again, and even largely the superheroes, they're really not political. Again, they're morality tales involved. Yes, they have morality tales. That's true. You know, trying to maybe get society to look at, you know, maybe an issue, but not tell you what to think or tell you that this is the only correct answer, but just to suggest to you, hey, here's a situation going on. What do you think should be done? Here's a hero. This is how he's handling it. What do you think about that? You know, leaving it up to the reader, perhaps. But that's not what this bitch does. She wants to tell you, this is what it is. This is how you have to feel. And if you feel anything differently than that, you're a Nazi. That's her mentality. And that's why she can't think of anything that is not political.
I had a Twitter account. He'd be an SJW for sure.
Yes, I mean,
and that's not a bad thing.
Chris Evans does.
I mean, it's Chris Evans.
And his like, yes.
Is an SJW for sure.
Yes,
and that's not an insult.
Not at all.
No, it absolutely is. It is an insult. It absolutely is. You do not want to be a social justice warrior, because that means that you are for, in your own way, fascism. Like I said, you want to destroy people's lives because they disagree with you politically, or because they voted a way you didn't like, or because they hold values that you think are quote unquote problematic, or whatever your issue, whatever bugaboo you have. You know, the thing about social justice warriors the most is they don't understand the difference between an actual legitimate issue and a pet peeve. To them, they're the same thing. Their little pet peeves about people and life are worldwide injustices that must be addressed by society. But they're not. I don't like that people voted for Donald Trump. Well, okay, you don't have to like it, but that's their right. And they weren't wrong to vote for him. If that's who they felt was the best applicant for the job that was available, that was running, then that's what they did. Or even if they did it because they said, well, they didn't vote for him because they wanted him, they voted because they were against Hillary. Okay, fine. They voted for him out of, you know, the lesser of two evils, or the only choice other than the one that I really can't abide. Whatever their reason for voting, that's legitimate. And just because you don't like the way they voted doesn't make them a Nazi. Doesn't mean they should have their life destroyed, have their livelihood taken from them. Doesn't mean they should be canceled. But that's exactly what SJWs think. And so, yes, it very much is an insult to call you one.
Oh, not at all. May I curse?
Yeah, you can curse.
Yes, he gives a, you know, like he cares about people who don't happen to be wealthy actors.
He cares about certain people who aren't wealthy actors, people who think a certain way, who have a certain political viewpoint. You see, that's the difference. See, the real Captain America, or I guess you'd say the real character of Captain America does give a fuck about people that aren't, you know, the elites. Absolutely, he does. And he would never want to see them destroyed. That's why he would never be a social justice warrior, because he would never want to destroy them, because they had views or politics or, you know, a social, you know, demography that differs from his. He understands that in America, they have the freedom to express those things as long as they do it peacefully and within the law. And so he would never be a social justice warrior. Chris Evans is a social justice warrior because he doesn't believe in people having those rights unless he deems them worthy. I will decide if you're worthy or not. I will decide if you should have the right to vote. I'll decide if your vote should be invalidated, or if your vote should castigate you as a Nazi or whatever. That's what social justice warriors do. See, again, it goes back to what we were saying before with those shill media guys. The entitlement, the sense of better than you. I'm a superior person to you because of my political views, because of my belief systems, because of whatever. That's what I think. and you just need to shut up and get in line, or else I'll destroy you. Is it starting to come clear now, folks, of how these people are?
He cares about people who weren't born with the privilege that he was born with. And that is what Captain America does. Captain America stands up for what I think we wish this country was. You know, I think the ideals that we have always stood for, but not always acted on.
Right.
Funny, those ideals would encompass the fact that you don't destroy somebody over their beliefs and political views. That's part of what those values are. Funny how though you can't live up to those, isn't it, Kelly Sue? That you have no problem destroying people, telling them, don't buy my work if you don't like my politics. Telling them to go F off and whatnot. You have no problem with that. So you're falling short. You know, you're trying to see, you're projecting yourself as like, I believe in those values, except you really don't.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved. You know, you don't like my Twitter feed? Unfollow me. Magic. You know?
Isn't it funny that she could do the same thing? You don't like somebody's opinions? Unfollow. Magic. Block. Magic. But that's not how it works for them. See, that's how it works for you. See, because she has the correct politics. So if you don't want to hear the correct politics, well, that just means you're a Nazi and you're stupid anyway. So just go ahead and block because I don't care. But yet they don't want to do that because, well, we need to know what the enemy is saying. And, you know, we have to get our talking points ready for the next thing they say that's reasonable so that we can castigate them as xenophobes or bigots or racists or whatever. This is why people don't like people like Kelly Sue DeConnick. This is why they're a problem. This is why they only destroy whatever they touch. This is why they have ruined and killed the direct market of the comic book industry.
I didn't come into your house and yell at you. You gotta seek me out. So don't. If it's problematic, if it's upsetting to your delicate constitution.
Youngblood, Wildcat.
Once again, more projection. More projection. She's the one who seeks it out, you know. She's the one, because she's the one pushing it out there. Oh, I'm not coming to your house, but you are coming into my house. When you come into the comic books that I have read for decades, that I have supported as a loyal consumer for over 30 years, and then you want to come in and push your one-sided, far-left political ideologue views on the characters that have nothing at all to do with that, simply because you're the writer on the book now and can do that. Well, that is pushing your way into my house, Kelly Sue. You are pushing your views onto me, whether you think you are or not. And I know it's easy for you to say, well, then don't buy my work. But again, it's not really your work, is it? You didn't create those characters. They're not yours. You know, if you can't write those characters the way they're meant to be written, then don't write them. Go off on your own somewhere, create your own little works like that piece of shit Bitch Planet you did, and go do your works over there. And you're right. You know what? I'll ignore you. I have no interest to read Bitch Planet. Fuck that book. If you gave it to me, I'd burn it. Okay? That's how disinterested I am in that book. But if you want to go over there and do that, that's fine. But then you want to come over here into my sphere and do that on Aquaman, or do that on Spider-Man, or do that on Superman. Well, see, now I have a problem, because now you're coming into my sphere, you know, into my house. And that makes all the difference, see? So, you know, maybe the problem here is not so much that you shouldn't force people into, you know, you should force people to ignore you. Maybe it's you should understand what you're about and go, gee, does what I do, does that jibe with what Spider-Man is about? Does what I do jibe with what Aquaman is about? No? Then maybe I shouldn't work on those characters. Maybe I should go off if I don't really care about telling the kind of stories characters like that are meant to tell, and make those characters be what they're supposed to be about. I'm too political for that. So let me go over here and do my own thing where I can do whatever I want with it, because it is my work. and then I can do whatever I want and not have to worry about it. There's your answer, Kelly Sue. You don't belong in the mainstream. You don't belong at Marvel and DC. You don't have the mentality it takes to work on those books and to cater to those consumers. You don't have what it takes. You have disdain for those consumers, and that's deadly, as the sales figures can prove out.
Cats, Bitch Planet, pretty deadly. That's
Yeah.
quite the variety of books under one umbrella.
When some of the more reactionary comic book fans, what my academic friends like to call the normative comic book reader,
Notice again, just a quick side note here. Notice that my academic friend, see again, once again, one of these people who is elitist. She is an elitist. She believes herself better than you, better than everybody else. That's what she is. She is an elitist. You're a pleb. Me and my academic friends gotta drop that in there so that you know I'm smart and you're stupid. You little normie comic readers.
which is, by the way, like such a myth, because
We're all freaks and geeks.
well, we could go through. I could go through the history of the evolution of the comic book industry and how this idea that it is that the core readership of comic books is white boys is very recent in our evolution. We have a long history, and that is really a very small part of it, but we have a really short memory in this industry.
So who was reading Batman in the 30s and 40s and Superman in the 30s and 40s? Who was the majority? Who were the ones making the books? I mean, isn't this is what her type always complains about? It was a bunch of white guys who were writing them and drawing them and reading them. And we needed to break that cycle and get more inclusion into the comic book industry. We needed more women and more minorities and more gays. We needed more of that in here. So if it's true that white boys as the primary market is a recent development, well, then doesn't that mean that all that history then wasn't as problematic as you've been saying for years? You know, just like people like myself and your boy Zach and so many others, just some guy, you know, have told people, yeah, that's not really a problem. That's you know, there's always been diversity. There's been diversity in comics at least since the 70s, at least. You know, we're talking 50 years of diversity. You know, but again, see, when it's the point they need to make, they'll ignore things that they've said themselves in the past. They'll ignore the canon and ignore the continuity of the arguments that they and their fellow SJWs have made in the past. Oh, what I said before doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm saying now. Because I want to win this argument. And this argument, if I go with, well, it's always with the white boys in the past for many, many, many decades, and it's only until recently that changed, well, then that makes it look like, well, yeah, that my working on these books, I'm kind of going against the very people who made the industry viable. And I can't say that. So let me rewrite history now and say, no, it's the other way around. The white boy thing is very recent. No, it wasn't.
But, you know, a book called Calling All Girls that was largely comics sold 500,000 copies in the 40s, you know, like.
Uh-huh. And what did Batman and Superman sell in the 40s? Like what, millions? Like 3, 4, 5 million copies every month? So there you go. The quote-unquote white boy characters were selling 10 times what that book for girls was selling, which kind of translates to what we say today, that despite all the inroads and everything else, the majority of the comic book readership is still largely male and fairly largely white. So the guys who you all say that, you know, you've been pushing away and that, well, they don't really matter that much and we don't need them. Well, it seems kind of you do, because back when they were the force, comics sold way better than they are now with all you and your inclusive diversity.
Girls read comics. Girls have always read comics. if we had more time, I would talk to you about manga and what that proved about the market.
Manga is a completely different genre. Manga is a completely different culture. That's the Japanese. And if you know anything about this, in Japan, most people, a lot of people, read comics. How many people in the United States read comics? Very few, and getting to be fewer every day, it seems. So you want to take something that is completely culturally different from what you're talking about as a crutch to make your bullshit arguments. And that's exactly what these people do.
But there is nothing inherently masculine about words and pictures. There is nothing inherently masculine about science fiction or pulp. There is, and nothing in the history of our industry is inherently masculine. There's not in this idea that.
No, in fact, it is. There is inherently masculine. Western comics are inherently masculine. War comics are inherently masculine. And while you can say not all sci-fi, the subgenre of superheroes, yeah, inherently masculine. It's about big, strong guys with super abilities pounding on each other. That's the basics. Just as in Westerns, it's cowboys and Indians. Just as in war, it's men fighting other men, killing. These are inherently masculine genres. And this is why your attempts to feminize superheroes fails. It's why those books don't sell. It's why those books are garbage. It's why nobody cares. You're creating them for an audience that isn't interested. Most girls, again, not absolutes, but most girls are not interested in superheroes. They aren't interested in physical punch-ups in the name of justice. Pardon me. They aren't interested in that. And that's fine. They don't have to be. If you want to go make YA type comics for girls, or you want to go out and make romance comics for girls, or you want to go out and make any other kind of comic for girls, go ahead. I won't stop you. Nobody will. If there's a market for it, make it and make that fat dollar. I'm totally a capitalist. I support that all the way. But if you're going to go into a genre or subgenre that is, despite her words here, inherently masculine and completely subvert and invert that, well, what do you think the outcome will be? One's going to be a lot of upset readers who don't like what you're doing, and you're going to see flagging sales. And what do we have right now in the industry? A lot of readers who aren't happy with what's being produced, provided they haven't quit comics altogether, and flagging sales.
Heroism is inherently masculine, is flawed thinking. Anyway, we can have a little conference on that. But I think my point being that some of the men with short memories who are so threatened by myself and my female colleagues and some of the books that we make that bring different perspectives, who feel that we are taking something away from them. Like, I have no interest in taking your books.
Except you do. And I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. It's coming up. Something else I'm going to show you that will prove what she said right there. I don't want to take your books from you is a lie. She is a liar.
You continue to make, we continue to make all of the books. You can have the books that you want, but I'd like there to be some others too.
Except you're taking over the books that we want and changing them and altering the characters and replacing them with women or replacing them with, people that are not the characters that we want, and removing all the action in the story and having a page after page of people sitting around talking and eating food and other shit like that we don't want in books that are supposed to be action adventure stories. You want other comics for other people, that's fine. That's completely legitimate. You can have stuff for other people. You can have stuff for all different kinds of consumers. But you don't take something that has its consumer base and then irrevocably alter it into something it isn't, and then expect that consumer base to support it, or to expect that that's going to suddenly become something a new consumer base will support. That is flawed logic, my dear. That is where you go wrong. That's where all your type go wrong and have been going wrong for the last several years.
You know, and I don't think that that's like, I'm going to make the books that I want to make, and if you don't want to read them, don't read them.
And we don't. And we don't. But the problem is the books you make are not of your own making. They're of long-standing, iconic characters who have a history, a canon, a continuity, and in a way, sort of their own soul, if you would. I mean, how many of us have read the old tales, not the current stuff, but the old stuff, say from the 80s or earlier, of Peter Parker? And yet we all identify with it. If you're a male, a white man, you identify with that. If you're a black man, you can identify with that. If you're a gay man, you can identify with that. If you're a woman, you can identify with that. We all know what it's like to be bullied. We all know what it's like to be feeling like a loser, to be out there trying our hardest to make the world a better place, and then we just can't make the bills. Oh, we all know that feel. Oh, I'm being harangued by the landlord for the rent again. Oh my goodness, I know how that goes. Oh man, all these troubles with my romantic relationships, man. I can tell you stories. There it is, folks. We all know how this stuff goes. We all know how that feels. We can all identify with Peter Parker. Even though he may be a white male, a straight white male, gay people can identify with him. Black people can identify with him. Women can identify with him. Why? Because he's archetypical. That's why. He projects things that we all understand. And so we can all interrelate with him. And that's what people like Kelly Sue DeConnick are unable to do, because for her, she can't get past her own worldview. Those horn-rimmed glasses she's wearing also must come with a set of blinders, because she can't see anything except what's in front of her, which is her politics. And that is why comics are dying. That is why the industry, the direct market collapsed, because of people like her who can't do that. They don't know how to do a broad approach to reach people with archetypes that we all understand and that we can all relate to. For them, it's very specific and very narrow. You have to think a certain way. You have to believe a certain way. You have to follow a certain ideological, political viewpoint. And if you don't, well, then you just don't matter. So when she says, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my work, that's what she's saying is, if you don't agree with my politics, you're irrelevant to me. That's what she's basically saying. That's the truth in what she's saying. Of course, she would never say it that way, because then she would expose herself for what she is. And this again, it's just that elitist mentality, that belief that I'm smarter than you, I'm better than you, I'm more moral than you, I'm more, of a better person than you. And that gives me the right to judge you and to tell you what you can and can't have. You can't have the Snyder Cut. You're a bigot. You don't deserve the Snyder Cut. You're a racist. You don't deserve Spider-Man comics you can enjoy. You're a racist. You're a sexist. This is what they do. They want to judge the consumers of any product. And what they believe about them is how the companies they expect to respond to them. Oh, those people are bigots, so you don't listen to them. You listen to me. This is the problem. This is what's wrong. And, it goes even deeper where, it's not just, again, with just even the product itself. It's basically with society as a whole. Because, again, I'm going to show you some stuff here that's going to make that point for you. And here we go with this. This is CBR, Comic Book Resources. Now you're saying to yourself, well, what's this? It says 404, page not available. This was a an article they had written and posted on Memorial Day. And you're probably wondering, what are you bringing up Memorial Day for? It's important you remember it. They did not, they waited to put this piece up until Memorial Day. And I'm going to show you here, but I want to see here, they pulled it down. They got such blowback on this article that they had to pull it down. And it's mystifying to me why they even would have bothered to put it up, with that being the case. You know, that's, but if you want to know more about the specifics of it, you know, down in the description section here on this this video, if you're watching this live, or if you know wait till this is over, or if you're watching this later after I've already done it live, it's right down there. That umbrella guy, my boy Tug, he did a piece on it, because since they pulled the thing down, I wasn't able to get a copy of it before it went down, but he did. He found a way to get information on it that I couldn't. And but fortunately, I did find something else that can help with this. So I'm going to bring that up for you now. And this is Bounding into Comics. Great site, by the way. One of the few sites that you can trust to give you a fair balance on what's actually being said and done, because they cover it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And they don't make the decisions for you. They don't tell you what to think, unlike a lot of the media shill sites do. And here it is: opinion, breaking down CBR's quickly deleted Memorial Day op-ed claiming Captain America wasn't a hero. On Memorial Day, a day where we are supposed to show honor and tribute to our veterans who have fought for our freedoms, and especially the ones who have died for them, they say, let's put out a story that takes the most iconic symbol in comics of America and of American servicemen and women, and let's denigrate him as not a hero. So we're gonna get into this. Captain America has not seen an assassination attempt this blatant since being shot in his stomach on the steps of the federal courthouse by a mind-controlled Sharon Carter at the end of Civil War. On May 25th, the day of the American Memorial Day holiday meant to honor and recognize members of the military who lost their lives while serving in the United States Armed Forces, CBR ran a headline declaring, "Steve Rogers wasn't a hero for becoming Captain America. He was selfish," atop an op-ed written by staff writer Caleb Clark. And I'm gonna read this for you. Captain America is one of the most important characters in Marvel history, and without him, many of the great stories of the Marvel Universe would not happen or wouldn't be the same. He is central to the entire framework of Marvel storytelling, and Captain America is emblematic of justice, honesty, perseverance, making him the ultimate culmination of the American ideal. However, the decision for Steve Rogers to become Captain America is inherently selfish. So, there it is. Claiming that if one removes the context of what he would become, Steve Rogers' choice to become Captain America is rooted in a fetishization of the hyper-masculine rather than an innate desire to do good for his country. This is more of what Clark has to say. Flying in the face of not only the human trait of self-improvement, but also the American dream of bettering one's position in life through hard work and determination, Clark argues that Rogers solely wants to prove himself to his peers and country. And here we go. We're going to take Clark's exact words. "This is a bold claim against America's golden boy, yet the context matters. Steve is initially someone unfit to serve on the front lines. It's tough and hurtful, but it is the reality of the situation. If his concern was truly how he could best serve his country, he would accept his station in life and make the most of it. You see, right there, here it is, back to our beginning, the elitist mentality. You know, Steve Rogers was 4F. He couldn't join as he was. And so according to this guy, he's a pleb, he's a prole, he's a peon. Accept your fate, peon, and just go about your business. You know, don't try to improve yourself. Don't reach beyond your grasp. Just accept what you are and move on, which is completely antithetical, not only to the character of Captain America, but to the whole American ideal itself. This is what I'm talking about. You know, this mentality of theirs. You know, we're better than you. You're not better than us. Accept your place, proles. You don't demand a Snyder Cut. You're given a Snyder Cut if we deem you worthy. This is it. You know, he could have tried becoming a merchant marine, train as an officer, or stay home and help with the production of wartime materials. All of these could contribute to the war like Steve supposedly wants to do, but that isn't good enough. Steve, in his eyes, has to be on the front lines. Yes, he's a guy who wants to fight for his country against a foe that had unjustly attacked it and was looking to help take over the world. You know, he wanted to fight. He knew others were putting their lives on the line for him, and he wanted to do his part to put his life there. That is complete altruism. And he couldn't do it the regular way. So instead, he put himself up for an experiment that was dangerous, that could have killed him. He was willing to risk his life to be able to fight, to help his fellow man so that he could go out on those front lines and maybe save some of their lives so that maybe some of those guys won't have to die the way others have already had. That is the most altruistic thing I have ever heard. And yet to a guy like Caleb, that's selfishness in his eyes, because Steve just didn't want to go around and, you know, collect pots and pans for the war effort. You know, he wanted to get out there and fight, and he was selfish because, you know, he wanted to prove himself to his peers. He didn't want to prove himself to his peers. He wanted to prove himself to himself that he was a good person and that he could help protect others. He could save lives of other Americans and put down the bad guys so that they can't hurt other people. That's what he was trying to prove. It's understandable for a young man to want to prove himself to his peers and country. Yet even if deep down his intentions are altruistic, the steps he takes to pursue those instincts are selfish. In Steve's mind, there is only one way to contribute to the war, and that just happens to be the way he wants to contribute. No, he saw that the only way for him to save lives and to help stamp out the evil and to protect others so that they didn't have to risk their lives, so that they could come home to their families and their loved ones, was to put his life on the line. And that's what he did. That is what Captain America is. And that is not selfishness. But to an elitist, that's exactly what it is. And then we go with some more of Clark's stuff. This quote also highlights Cap. He talks about in an attempt to further his point, Clark turns to two different versions of Steve Rogers during the same event, comparing the 616 Marvel and the MCU version of his role in Civil War, citing Rogers' famous "No, you move" speech to Spider-Man during the crossover storyline. Clark states that it highlights Cap's tendency to respond to things with violence. This quote also highlights Cap's tendency to respond to things with violence. In fact, Cap is an impulsive person, and his first response to opposition is to beat it down. The aggressive impulses are hidden beneath a veneer of tough American grit and freedom fighting. See, once again, so this guy, Caleb, obviously is someone who's one of these types who hates America. He hates American values. He hates American exceptionalism. He hates everything about this country. But rather than just come out and say that, he has to denigrate things that show that the country is great. You know, again, this is the elitist mentality. This is the we're better than you. I'm more moral than you because I hate America. You know, and his thing is that the Cap response. He's a soldier. Soldiers always respond with violence. Because they know when they're being called out, the soldiers know when they're calling me up to go out there and do something, they're not calling me out there to go, hey, let me shake some hands and slap some backs and say, hey, come on, let's go sit down and have a beer and talk this stuff over. They know that all that type of stuff is gone. That's off the table now. The only thing left is violence, because there's no other way this is going to get solved. That's why you're calling me up. That's why you're putting that gun in my hand and sending me out there, is because you know that everything else has been tried and none of it has worked. This is the only thing that's left to stop something from happening that we don't want to happen. That is what it is. And that's what all soldiers' lives are. That's not responding to things with violence. That's understanding the fact of you're being expected to produce violence when all other options have failed. That's not an aggressive impulse. And again, if you've read the comics, I've read tons of Captain America comics. His first impulse isn't to just go punch something. How many stories have you read of Captain America under the late great Mark Gruenwald, where Cap is standing speechifying all the time for pages? You know, he's out there all the time giving his speeches, trying to get people to see reason. He doesn't want to punch your head in. He wants you to listen to reason. But he knows that if it comes down to it, and that isn't going to work, and nothing else is going to work, then I guess this is where we have to go, because I'm not going to let you do evil and harm others just because I don't want to be violent. It's incredible. You know, it's absolutely incredible. Though Clark portrays his article as an attempt to humanize Rogers, Marvel fans across the spectrum of fandom took massive issue with the glorified hit piece, confused and angered that such a beloved icon could be interpreted in such an uncharacteristic way. Facing an insurmountable wave of backlash, CBR ultimately deleted Clark's article and has not commented on the issue since. It would appear that, unlike Clark, fans who cared and understood the character, flaws and all, were able to take away the message of Cap's heroic words. When the mob and the press and the whole world tell you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move. Exactly. Exactly. You see this, but there it is. This is the elitist mentality. They think that they are the ones who have a lock on all knowledge, on all virtue, on all morality, on all intelligence, and everyone who doesn't fall in line with what they think and what they believe, well, you're just a bunch of plebs. Who cares what you think? You're not important. And they'll even go so far as to drag down an American icon on the very day that we're supposed to honor those who have fought and died in the name of our freedom and liberty. I mean, you know, what is more entitled than that? You know, and the sad part is that those people who fought and died, they fought and died so guys like Caleb can do exactly what he did. You know, his right to do what he did, that's what they fought and died for. And here he is, you know, pissing all over that because he's a selfish asshole who thinks he's entitled to be among the elite. I decide what is virtuous and what isn't. I decide what is altruistic and what isn't. I decide. Not you plebs. And, you know, but like I said, this is all stuff that we've seen before. Like I said, I've shown you so many things, and I'm going to show you some more now. You know, some of these are going to be oldies, but it's going to make the case. It's going to make the case. Here's some pictures I have from on my Facebook here for you. Now, this right here is, you know, this was the actual article. I found a picture of it. Somebody had the picture from it, you know. Here it is right here, the original piece that he had done. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and I'm going to show you just how deep this entitlement, this sense of elitism runs in the entertainment industry from people who really should know better. Yeah, here's our good pal Chuck Wendig from Star Wars. Please definitely shy away from tagging authors in negative reviews. The reviews aren't for us. A positive review, also not for us. At least it makes us feel good. Your only gain in sending us a negative review is making us feel shitty and us muting and blocking you. Right there. You see, he's putting work out in the public sphere, but he doesn't care what the public thinks. But yet he wants your money. You know, he's entitled to your money and your praise, but not your criticism. Aubrey Citizen, the former writer of G.I. Joe at IDW. Oh, good. It's self-centered national tragedy remembrance from people who weren't even anywhere near New York City Day. What he said on, take a look at that date right there, 9/11. You see, again, once again, he says he was in the city, so he has a right to mourn or feel reflective or whatever, but you don't because, well, you weren't even there, so shut up. Shut up, pleb. Shut up. You weren't there. You don't know. You couldn't have had somebody in those buildings who died, or maybe maybe the firefighters or friends of yours. No, you can shut up. David Brothers, formerly of Image Comics, currently of Viz Publications. Every time I tweet about comics' favorite hate mob, referring to Comicsgate, of course, I get really annoyed at my mentions. Please just meet me in Temecula instead. I will gladly throw my life away if I get to make sure you come with me. So once again, here, we had Caleb talking about Cap having the instinctive reflex to want to throw out violence. Here's an asshole right here who's throwing out a violent threat to an entire section of fans. Why? Well, one, because he knows it's likely never going to happen, so he feels secure in the fact that he ain't going to ever put that up. You know, he's going to put up or shut up. He doesn't have to do either. And second of all, he feels, again, the superiority. I'm better than these people. Moose Bauman, former comic book colorist and an all-around piece of shit. You know, go fuck yourself, Nazi-ass clown, to a female, no, a woman, you know, one of the supposed marginalized groups. And he goes, you seem nice. Go suck a dick. There you are. I bet you Moose will tell you he's a feminist, too, that he believes in feminism and equality for women. So what, equality of what? Telling them off? I guess, you know, insulting them? Is that the equality you're going for there, Moose? Because that's certainly the equality you seem to have. Ah, yes. Alana Smith, editor at Marvel. Make no mistake, even if Trump loses, we will remember who supported him. Once again, threats. Threats to people. Threats to people both inside and outside of the industry. Threats to fellow colleagues. Threats to the consumers. Threats all around because my politics. Because I'm better than you. Al Ewing, writer of The Immortal Hulk. I do a lot of blocking on Twitter, including using blockchain. I've been blocking Comicsgaters for a while. As a movement, they're shitty to my readers, and they make the lives of creators, retailers, and friends worse. I don't want them in my audience. Chain block time. Hold on to your butts. So you're blocking people who have money to spend, who have probably supported your work in the past. And again, with blockchaining, as he says, blockchaining doesn't just block the guy you don't like. It blocks everyone who follows him. So if you block some guy who had, let's say 5,000 followers, all 5,000 of those followers are also blocked. So you're blocking innocent people indiscriminately with people you don't like. How is, where's, but yet you care about, your readers? Well, some of the people you blocked were your readers. But, that doesn't matter because, I'm Al Ewing and you're not. Everyone's favorite shithead, Max Bemis, former Moon Knight writer. So I stand by my statement. If anyone disagrees with me about general empathy or humanism so deeply that they can't take my SJW views, those people can feast upon my ass. You see what I'm saying? Again, what company, if you were, you and me, if we worked at a factory and we insulted the clientele of that product from that factory, if we insulted their clientele telling them to feast upon my ass, what would happen to us, you think? They'd be called into HR pretty quick and fired? Yeah, that's what I think would happen to us. But yet, guys like Max Bemis, they don't fear any of that because they have the right politics. See, the SJW views. I got the right politics. So I can do the most heinous thing that if it was done to me would be bigotry of the highest order, but I can do it to others who I don't like because I'm Max Bemis, bitch. Tamara Bonvillain, another colorist. Making a lot of additions to the block list today. Do what you want, but I generally don't want to get in the weeds with Comicsgate people about shit I know and experienced firsthand. Rather just never have to hear their dumbass opinions again. Well, how do you know their dumbass opinions if you're not even going to listen? You know, you see what I'm saying? They, even when they come at you, they don't make sense. But again, the entitlement. I don't have to listen to criticisms of people. I don't have to listen to things I don't want to have to hear. I don't have to listen to the truths that may be inconvenient to my beliefs and my values and my political ideology. I can just silence that because I'm better than they are. I don't have to. Everyone's favorite cum dumpster, Heather Antos. Former Marvel editor, currently senior editor at Valiant Comics, who are flagging in sales, by the way. Comic professionals aren't customer service representatives. Except, of course, they are, because when you insult the readers don't buy from the retailers. And if the retailers can't sell, they don't buy from the distributor. And the distributor doesn't sell to the retailers, well, then they aren't going to order from the publisher. And if the publisher doesn't get orders from the distributor, well, then they don't need people like Heather Antos. So actually, yeah, you are in customer service, whether you want to believe it or not. You may not want to believe that, but you are. You absolutely are. Now, maybe in Heather's case, she can't handle social media, which that's fine. You don't have to be on social media, sweetheart. You can get off social media and never go on. And then that way you can treat customers respectfully because you're not worried about what they're saying to you, because they're not saying anything to you because they have no access to you. See, if you don't want access to the consumer, don't go online. Don't go on social media. Don't interact with the consumers. But if you're going to go online and talk your trash, well, then be prepared to have it come back on you. You know, there's a very famous meme, and I probably should have included it here. It shows a woman with horn-rimmed glasses, and she's got like a pink shirt on with the feminist symbol, you know, the woman symbol with the fist in the middle. And it has a big pile of manure, and it says opinions. And then there's a wall behind her that says internet. And she launches some of the manure up over the wall. And then all of a sudden from the other side of the wall, some shovels launch some stuff back over on her, and it gets on her shirt and stuff, and she screams, help me, misogyny. That's people like Heather Antos. They have the right to go out and throw their shit on you, but when you respond in kind, oh, no, you can't do that. And then when you call them out on it, I'm not a customer service representative. Even though I'm out there insulting the customers. Our favorite soy boy Satanist, Donnie Cates. People who think it's a cool time to jump into threads about positivity during hard times with the express intent on being assholes or shitting on your work or the end of your jobs are literal scum. I know life is hard, and I truly hope you and your family are safe. But from the bottom of my heart and with my deepest sincerity, fuck every single one of you. Wash your hands. Take care of your families, be healthy, stay inside, and with all your newfound freedom or newfound free time, get fucked. Thanks. Much love. Yes, you can feel the love, you know. Can you feel the love tonight? You know, but there it is. Donnie Cates, again, another guy, ego's too bigger than his brain, you know, but he'll tell you he cares about the customers. He cares about the industry, but yet, you know, let me launch attacks on people when, you know, they're rightfully calling out the fact that the industry is dying because of people like Donnie Cates. Now we get to another one, Tom Brevoort, Marvel editor, big asshole. You know, it's kind of baffling that you view having a small audience as desirable. I don't view that as desirable, but bigots can keep their money. Marvel has always been about inclusion and against intolerance, except of course, you know, when it's Tom's bigotry and Tom's intolerance, which, you know, that's perfectly legitimate. That 36% are entitled white assholes like my son who are overjoyed that shit's getting done. Once again, you know, my politics. See, this is what we talked about, Kelly Sue. This is the problem. Yes, this type of politics. You know, you want to talk about, like, you know, don't try to destroy the environment, you know, because, you know, try to destroy all the rainforest. That's one thing. Saying something like this, completely different. And yet this is the attitude that we see in the work. This very attitude like this. That's what people are against, and rightfully so. Everyone's favorite fat boy, Dan Slott, a.k.a. the Slob. If I wanted to sell more comics, I'd shut up about gun control, climate change, gay marriage, etc., and make everybody happy. But F it! Have Marvel never warned you off it because I know they'd love to sell more comics? Nope. And there it is. That's there it is. The problem in the end, you got a guy like this saying things like that, and yet no repercussions. And that's where they get this entitled attitude from, because they suffer no consequences. Scared by the number of people saying, don't go to work, don't work for a company like Hobby Lobby then. This is America. Go build Hobby Lobby in Christland. Oh, let's just insult Christians all across the board. All Christians. You know, let's just do that because, you know, it's not there's no, you know, it's not that there's many in the country or anything who, you know, and not like many that buy comics or anything. No, that's perfectly legitimate. Let's just insult swaths of people, and you know, and that's great customer service right there, isn't it? Here we go, Mark Koprinarov, who I hadn't heard of before this, but he's evidently done a little bit of work over there at Image. Thinking of readers as customers is indicative of a stunted understanding of the medium. If you want to make art, it's terrible and short-sighted foundation to build on, except it's the very foundation you build on, because you can make all the art you want, and if nobody wants to buy, nobody wants to see it, nobody gives a shit about it, it means nothing. So yeah, understanding that the readers are the customer is very much foundational. And it's terrible and short-sighted of assholes like Mark here to think otherwise. And here he is showing, once again, that great customer service. And I'll leave you to whatever cum rag someone promised you on Indiegogo. Farewell, fragile customer. Yes, so whatever cum rag, like the near $1 million Indiegogo of Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet, or the $150,000 Indiegogo for Dan Fraga's Black Flag Pineapple Express Persuasion, you know, or you know, the $140,000, you know, $140,000 campaign by your boy Zach, you know, Richard C. Meyer for his latest Jawbreakers book. Yeah, you know, that's promised some cum rag that's seems everybody wants to spend money for him. Must be some really great cum rags. Guess yours aren't so good there though, huh, Mark? I bet you aren't seeing any numbers like that. I wonder why. Here we go. The scumlouse of the comic world, John Layman. We think comic skaters are a bunch of pathetic jackasses, and therefore it's okay to shit talk all those stupid fucking idiots. Except, of course, those stupid fucking idiots have a lot of money, and many of them have supported comics for a long, long time, and you know. But once again, the mentality: oh, we can talk that because I'm better than they are, and more from Lay Dick. If you didn't want anything to do with him, I think they're referring to Ethan Van Sciver, doesn't it make more sense to just ignore him? Your actions come across as more of a personal attack or attempts at gatekeeping. A lot of people will take silence as tacit acceptance or approval. Ethan was in the news with Dynamite yesterday. I felt a need as somebody who works for Dynamite to let them know, to let me opinion of Ethan again be known. Okay, and would you place your disdain towards EVS and his audience over the profit and well-being of everyone that works at Dynamite and the comic shops that could potentially profit? Yes. So, you know, so when they tell you things about, like you saw Donny Cates about, oh, we care so much about the industry and you shouldn't laugh when things are going bad. Here's a dickhead who has no problem saying, yeah, let me destroy the company. I'd rather see the company destroyed and go out of business and put all those people that work for it out of business and out of jobs, rather than let this guy I don't like get some work. A guy I can just, you know, not involve myself with. But no, I have to say something because, you know, why? It's tacit acceptance or approval. Who said that? Oh, the SJWs, of course. That's who say that. If you don't denounce, well, then you obviously support. You can't just say, I got no dog in this fight. You know, I don't care what he says. I don't care what you say. I'm just here to buy comics. But you can't be that where I don't care what he says. I don't care what you say. I'm just here to make comics. Can't have that opinion with SJWs. Take it to heart, Comicsgate motherfuckers. I don't know or care what race you are. You are all the same to me, dog shit. Oh, so there you go. So, but see again, once again, the very values. Well, don't care what race you're. So you're saying if you're black or if you're Asian or if you're brown, that if you're Comicsgate, you're dog shit. Well, that's racist by the very standards that dickholes like Layman live by is you can't say things, bad things to black people or to brown people because that's racism. Even if it's true, it doesn't matter. It's racism. You don't say mean things, especially if you're white, which John Layman, of course, is. So here's a white guy who's saying to people who are non-white, you're dog shit. But yet somehow that isn't racist when he does it. Because why? Well, he's better than you, of course. Here's a new one. I just came across fairly recently, Dana Schwartz. For those of you who don't know, she's going to be the new writer for the She-Hulk, is it TV series or movie that Marvel's producing? Yeah, that's her. She's going to be writing that work. And right here, you know what? Screw it. No novels by white men in high schools for the next 20 years. So racist and sexist, all in one shot, as well as basically, I mean, what, book burning, basically saying burn books that are by white males because you don't want them in the high schools. But yet, I'm sure someone said it about her work. That would be sexism according to her. But when she does it, well, no, that's not, because I'm better than you. Fan gatekeeping is profoundly toxic subculture. The people who think enjoying a thing gives them ownership over it. And then someone comes in to explain to her, that people aren't going to watch your She-Hulk thing. And the reason that, people are excited about certain creators like Jim Lee, he noted, for example, because, he's, for example, a man, but Asian, that should temper some of your rage. He obviously understands. She knows if it was a white guy, she would flip out. Was inspiring to young readers, girls and boys. The reason he was inspiring, he was driven by passion, was driven and passionate just about the characters he created and stories he that fit that classic storytelling tropes. And then, of course, okay, I'm only posting this here to show how this guy has finally shown his whole ass. He is terrified at the prospect that women might actually genuinely love writing the same characters he enjoys. It would tear his worldview apart. Except you don't enjoy writing those characters, Dana. The work shows it. The way people like you have written comics of these characters for the last several years at Marvel and DC shows that you don't have any enjoyment. The only enjoyment you have is in destroying them, to take them away from people you don't like. Mostly white males, who, of course, as we know, are the largest audience of comics. But again, see, that doesn't matter because, she's better than you. And then the guy asked the question. It's a connected medium with a character driven by its original source material. My question is this: why are you interested beyond the money? What makes you want to write about She-Hulk when you are clearly not interested in that genre? Earnest question: do male writers deal with this? Also, imagine seriously believing that anyone got into comics for the money. Lol. And see right there, just brushes it aside. Never mind it. Yes, in fact, male writers do this. They sometimes they are asked if they specifically have shown disdain towards certain genres, and then they suddenly start writing in them. I'm sure someone would definitely ask them, "Oh, why are you writing in the genre other than the paycheck? Because you don't like this stuff." But it's the next part down here that's the really telling part. The idea that I need to somehow prove my worthiness in order to work in a certain genre is incredibly toxic, also very, very sexist. The only people whom I need to explain my experience, my credentials, and my passion are the people that hired me. Well, no, they aren't, because those people wouldn't have hired you if it wasn't for the people that you're denigrating. Because without their money, those people wouldn't hire you because they'd have no job for you because there'd be no money made for them. So actually, yeah, you do have to prove your worthiness to the fans. You do have to prove your worthiness to the readers or the viewers in the case of a movie or television show. You absolutely have to prove it. And that's not toxic, sweetie. That's life. But once again, this shows the entitlement. I don't have to prove anything. I'm deserving of this spot. I'm deserving of that money. I'm deserving of that validation. Once again, the entitlement of the elites. But here we get a quick shot of I guess reality breaking through. This quarantine is really making me realize I need a better hobby other than Twitter. Yeah, you think, Dana? You think? After you've sabotaged basically the She-Hulk work you're going to be doing, yeah, it's a little too late there, I think, darling. But don't worry, this moment of sanity, it doesn't last because there's always others out there to take a place, like good old Fail Simone. It's going to be very important to remember who endorsed Trump, who chose this ridiculous, unqualified lump over their country. Why is it going to be important to remember that? For what? What's your plan, Gail? What's that got to do with writing comics? What's that got to do with making good stories of entertainment? How does knowing what somebody voted and who they endorsed for president, what does that have to do with anything? Nothing, of course, but except that's what these people are. They're all political. And here we get to the one I told you about when we were watching Kelly Sue DeConnick in that video. I said she was a liar, saying we don't want to take your books from you. And here's Fail Simone with her doing duck faces, ugliest. Oh God, I'm so sorry to inflict this on you folks. I really am. I probably should have given a warning ahead of time before you saw this. This is like, oh God, sorry we accidentally took over comics, everyone. Not actually sorry. You see, there it is. They don't care about the characters. They don't care about the stories and the continuity and the consumers. It's all about taking something, taking it. We're taking it from these people and we're breaking it. And we're ruining it for them. And that's what matters. That's what all people like Gail Simone and Kelly Sue DeConnick believe. They're haters. They are haters. As if I needed even more evidence of that. The tent poles that hold up the industry are white, cis, straight, able-bodied, and male. It's okay to chip away at that. Except, Gail, if you've ever been to a circus, you know that the tent poles are what keeps everything up. If you chip away and knock down the tent poles, well, the tent comes down and then there's no circus for anybody. Which, funnily enough, is kind of what's happened in the comic book industry because of people like Gail Simone. But again, entitled. Oh, that's okay to do this because, right side of history and whatnot. And everyone's favorite dickhead Patrick Zurcher, another comic book artist. My new policy is going to be to call these Comic-Gate flakes whatever I feel like calling them, including Ethan Mein Kampfer. My Kampfiver. So insulting Ethan Van Sciver and, a good portion of comic readers. And he's going to call them whatever he wants. Why? Because he's better than they are. He doesn't have to, show consideration to people who buy the work. He's better than that. Oh, see, I feel a little guilty even bashing Comicsgate. Not because they don't deserve it. It's just, okay, I don't feel that guilty. See, again, the elitism, the entitlement, the moral superiority. Why is every Comicsgate guy obsessed with customer service? They want pros to warm up to them, and yet the insults I've seen aimed at people I've worked with, at myself. If a waitress served you a meal you didn't like, would you call her a whore? Well, I don't know, Patrick. If she had I saw her spit in the meal and throw it down on me and spill it in my lap and tell me if I had a problem with it to go fuck myself. Well, yeah, I probably would. You see, that's the thing. You see, there's the entitlement again. They want us to. No, we don't want you to warm up to us. We just want you to stop insulting us and to make works that are actually worth buying. That's what we want. And instead of listening to us and hearing what it is we want to buy, you sit on your ass and pronounce your political bullshit pronouncements and just drive more people away. And speaking of driving people away with political pronouncements, we come to asshole Ron Mars, comic writer for many books, and also, get this, an editor at Ominous Press. So not just some guy who's just writing a comic, but a guy high up in the mucky mucks of a publisher. There's a deep misunderstanding of who the client is here. My business card says writer, not customer service. Right out of the same school as Heather Ontos, it seems. I wonder if they suck the same dicks. So someone has to hit him with it. What exactly is the deep misunderstanding? Are we wrong in saying fans who purchase the work are the writer's client or a writer's clients? Yes, that's wrong. Writers are hired by publishers. Publishers sell to the retailers, and retailers sell to the fans. So my client is the publisher, not the fan. Except when you reverse engineer that, the publisher gets no money if retailers make no money because the fans aren't spending any money. So the only way you get hired by publishers is if fans are spending money. That's the whole chain of events. So yes, the fans are your clients, the readers, the consumers, whatever name you want to give them. That's what they are. and only an elitist believes otherwise. And here we go here. Footage of a man hitting a woman in the face in central Paris after she told him to shut up for harassing her in the street has shocked France and prompted an investigation. To which Ron has to bring it out. Now, this story, now, would that story have anything to do with comic books, whatever? Nope. Okay, well, what's Ron say? Surely he only wanted better comics without all that forced diversity. Surely. So once again, taking a shot at consumers for something that has nothing at all to do with consumers. Basically comparing consumers to women beaters? Is that what he's saying? That they're violent? You know? But again, he doesn't care because, well, you're not his client. Numerous, actually, you need to listen to your customers' tweets in my mentions this morning. Gee, I wonder why, Ron. Maybe because you call them wife beaters. Maybe because you tell them that, you know, their opinions don't mean shit, even though they're the ones paying your bills and putting the money in those paychecks your publisher gives you. Gee, I wonder why you would have that. One thing brought into ever sharper focus by this: retailers are the publisher's customers, readers are the retail's customers. Except, again, without the readers giving the money to the retailers and the retailers buying from the distributor and the distributor buying from the publisher, there's no money for you. And there's no money for the publisher, which guess what that means? No job. So, yeah. So what this all comes down, so what it really is, to bring an even sharper focus for you, Ronnie boy, what this comes down to is readers are the publisher and creators' customers, because without us, you all have nothing. And again, only a self-entitled elitist would see it otherwise. And here's Erica Henderson, artist of Squirrel Girl, doing some of the worst art I'd ever seen in a comic. Imagine honestly thinking we get into comics for money or acclaim. Then why are you here, sweetheart? I mean, that's the reason you get into any profession is, you know, if maybe not acclaim so much, but definitely for the money. You know, you don't say, oh, let me get this job that I'm going to hate doing and, you know, and do this shit work and all this stuff for nothing. You know, let me do a job that, you know, is no good and doesn't pay me well. Nobody does. No, the people that do those jobs do it because they have no choice. And then, of course, here's the cum dump herself coming in. Well, I know I personally went into comics to burn the industry and tear it apart from the inside and for the money and the acclaim. So, you know, again, when this was said back in March, now we see how things have turned out in the industry since then. And it's like, well, gee, that seems like a rather ill-conceived tweet there from her, doesn't it? But again, only an elitist who thinks themselves superior would feel completely at ease in saying something like that. But where does all that lead? All the stuff you just saw, where does it lead? It leads to this. Just got the first of the G. Willow Wilson, another political activist turned comic creator who injects her politics into everything, whether it belongs there or not. Just got the first of the dreaded pencils down emails. I imagine there will be more. It was inevitable after the store closures and Diamond announcement. Sending love to all my comics people, artists, writers, retailers, editors, fans. This really sucks. Yes, it does. When you show no consideration to the fans, whose money is what keeps the wheels running and keeps the cogs all greased up, that's what happens. You know, and you notice the fans were the very last ones to be sent, quote unquote, sent love. You know, again, very telling thing how she lined all that up. And then when this goes down, where do we end up? Well, we end up with this. Dickhead Layman. The glee comics creators are taking in the virus-related death of the comics industry is gross, even for them. Well, they're not taking glee in the death of the comics industry because of the industry. They're taking it because of dickheads like you, John. We're happy to see you lose your job. We're happy to see you have to suffer. The hubris of your egotism and your elitism, thinking you're morally superior to the people who are paying the bills. That's what they're getting the glee from. They don't want the comic industry to die. They just want you gone. Chris Sotomayor, a colorist and well-noted racist. Only the shittiest people revel in today's crappy comics news. What happened? CG relishing the people are out of work. They're disgusting. Well, you know what's more disgusting, Chris? Racist piece of shits like you who go around insulting consumers, driving them away, which caused the industry to have to lay people off. That's even worse. That's the truly disgusting thing. But of course, again, your elitism will make you believe that you're perfectly justified in what you say. You're perfectly justified in your racist remarks. But heaven forfend someone to say something you don't like. More of our favorite soy boy, Donny Cates. It's so odd to see people who claim to love this art form declare that it's dying every day. Just support what you love and stop worrying about the sky falling. We're doing fine, I promise. Back in July of 2019. And what happens less than a year later? Final thought. If you find yourself celebrating the potential loss of small businesses and people's entire livelihoods due to this global pandemic that is killing thousands, please ask yourself if that is the kind of person you want to be. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe. Oh, but I thought everything was fine, Donnie. I thought everything was just fine, and we just needed to, shut up. Oh, but it isn't fine, and it wasn't fine, and it never will be fine ever again because of people like you. Yeah, that's what I had figured out. So did a lot of other people. And we're going to end it here from the creative side of people in the industry with everyone's favorite scam artist, B. Clay Moore, who's still, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years late on his crowdfunding campaign. Good luck to all you who invested in it, because I don't think you're ever going to see your money or your book. Because you asked, and it's not the last, and it's the last thing I'll ever say about Comicsgate. No one in comics had ever heard of Comicsgate until people started identifying as CG members and started attacking pros online. Anything anyone in comics has said was a response to being attacked. The end. Except it isn't the end, B. Clay, because it's a lie. Comicsgate was the term assholes like you used to denote people who were critics of the very behavior I have just spotlighted here for the last, 45 minutes? And they were the ones, you were the ones who made the name Comicsgate. The people who have taken it on are just using it as a badge to say, yes, I am a critic who thinks what you do like this on social media is wrong. I think your elitism and that your entitlement and thinking you are owed our money and that you are owed a readership and that you are owed the validation you want is wrong. That's what Comicsgaters are all about. And, you were the ones that made that name, and you were attacking people before that. That's what brought Comicsgate about, was before the term was even used by assholes like you, B. Clay. This is what happened. Anything anyone in comics said was to deflect from valid criticisms that we don't want to hear. That's what it is. That's what it was. And that's what it still is. That's what this response is. And that's all it'll ever be. So here we go with one of the guys who was probably one of the first people who was part of the proto-genesis of Comicsgate, Douglas Ernst, who wrote about things since, 2010? Comicsgate didn't come along until around 2016, 2017. So for years, he wrote about it. And he goes, anyone who speaks, and he takes our favorite cum dump here and takes her quote, anyone who speaks like this has zero moral authority to lecture other writers and artists. Are you a professional or not? If the answer is yes, then it is not appropriate to needlessly antagonize customers. If you can't show a modicum of self-control, then you should get a new job. Bam. Right there. And he said it right there. Moral authority. That's where all this stems from the guys you saw in the Vanity Fair and Collider articles, from Kelly Sue DeConnick, from all these creators I've shown you here, from Caleb over at CBR trashing Captain America on Memorial Day. All of it comes from people who believe they have moral authority over everybody else. I'm better than you are. You take a backseat to me, pleb. And this is what's wrong. This is the core. This is the dark heart of it all. This is what is wrong. And I'm going to end all of this here with probably the one quote I ever saw on Twitter to our favorite asshole, Ron Mars, that I think is the epitome of everything that needs to be said and needs to be believed and needs to change. No matter how condescending you are, if the fans don't buy, then the retailers don't buy, and the publishers won't hire you. Please the fans or lose your job. That's how it works. There you are. Right there. It cannot be stated more succinctly. Give the readers or the consumers what they want. Whether it be comics that don't denigrate the icons or the Zack Snyder Justice League cut. Whatever it is, give it to them. That's how you make money, and that is the point of all business, to make a profit. And that's what needs to change. That's the mindset that needs to be brought back into the entertainment business, because it's not there right now, and that is why things are the way they are. So there you have it, folks. This is it. They're raging. All of that rage from people who just can't accept that the world does not revolve around them, that they are not the moral authorities of anyone save themselves. And this is where it all comes from. And now that things are starting to perhaps change with the Zack Snyder cut, and with the collapse of the direct market in comics, and scrambling to get stuff out there in places where it wasn't before, and maybe get people to make works that people will actually buy. Things are changing, and the shills and the elitists are screaming because they feel their power slipping away, a power they held for way too long and were undeserving of. They never should have had it, but they did, and they abused it, and it brought us to where we are now. And that is why they're so angry to see things like the Zack Snyder cut happen. Not because there's anything wrong with having one, not because that there was no reason to do it, but because it takes away their power. It takes away their legitimacy. It takes away their moral authority for them. And that is what they find so dangerous. It's dangerous for me not to have that power. It's dangerous for the plebs to have that power. And, that's where it all comes from. This is class warfare, folks. Class warfare in the cultural sphere. We're better than you. Sit down and shut up, serf. You take the gruel we throw at you, and if you don't like it and complain, we'll put you down. That's how it's been for years now. That's where cancel culture has come from. That's where SJWs had the edge. But it's starting to turn. And it's going to keep turning. It's not going to stop. And these people need to learn that and learn it really quick before they end up destroying themselves, the way they've destroyed so many other things, so many great franchises and so much great entertainment. Because that's the only thing that will be left. Well, that about does it for me. I hope you enjoyed this fireside chat of ours. I hope it's given you some stuff to think about, maybe help clarify some things for you. I always enjoy doing these when I have a chance and have something I feel is worth talking about. And, if you have any thoughts or whatever, hit it up down in the comments there. I'm always interested to hear what people got to say. I don't want to do this stuff in a vacuum where, no one else is hearing it but me. So, I always want to hear what you got to say. And you see right there in the description section, we got the link to, the Twitter. Go follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. So you can keep up with the stuff that's going on here at Sequential Treasures HQ and see what great stuff we have coming down the pike. And, until next time, take care.